The industry has really changed, and COVID is not the cause of people, suddenly moving to online channels. It has been a gradual thing. I think 5 years ago we started seeing speeds going up. The introduction of 3G, 4G now, and very soon 5G in the country just goes to show you how rapidly evolving this environment is. One of the things that we have been able to do is to look at what the trends look like for our country as well as the landscape that we're in. And I think as business owners, this is where we've been really looking for sales and market and growth. And changing. And it's growing over time. It's growing over time for us to be able to see how we can be able to get growth. So what I'm trying to do right now is to take people of understanding to as well as give you an understanding of how we can actually see the changing behavior globally impacting our country here today. So very quickly, I'm going to walk you through how this has actually changed. The first thing that I want to really call out is the fact that it's not new. E-commerce hasn't been new to us. It has always been there. Online businesses have been there. I know businesses in Kenya, like Mokality, that came in close to 7 years ago to try and get Kenyan businesses online. Companies like Google have had initiatives to get Kenyan businesses online. And we're seeing a lot of these things. I mean, even the post office directory was moved online. We used to have yellow pages as a big book, but now we get it online. And so we've moved gradually over time. And from what we're seeing is that we're just following what is happening globally. We have seen businesses, shifting to e-commerce globally from 15.5%, projecting to end at about 17.5%. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that because of this COVID situation, this sort of growth is going to be more aggressive than what has been forecasted here. On the other spectrum, we are also seeing that we do have, opportunity to grow the amount of transactions that have been happening in comparison to what is there globally. So if you look at a market like China, we've got over $672 billion in e-commerce-based transactions, while on the continent, we are at about $147 million. So there are 3 zeros that we have to grow to get to that level. And obviously, a country like Kenya, this is actually being accelerated. We've also seen behavioral change within the consumer space, whereby consumers would go to offline retail, so brick and mortar businesses, physical locations to buy for the first time, and then eventually go to a marketplace. And I'll help define what a marketplace is in this context. A marketplace is whereby you can actually go online and set up your shop there. And I know brands like Jumia have provided a marketplace for you as a service provider or a product provider. You can sell your things online. I think OLX is a very good example of a marketplace, GG, Glovo, and so on and so forth. And then brand.com is your individual brand. So if you are a seller of clothes and you have your own store, you can actually have a website for your own store, and that's what I'm referring to as brand.com. So what we have been seeing over time is the change whereby for first-time consumers, about half of them would actually come to the store in the urban areas, obviously. then 31% of them would go to the marketplaces, and 19% of them would come directly to your own website that you might have. However, what's really interesting is that when you look at the repeat purchases, people who come back repeatedly to your business, about 34% of them will physically come to your location, and then 47% of them will now go to these online marketplaces to look for your products or your services that you would be rendering. And I'll be breaking that down further as we go along. The other thing that we've also seen is that there has been aspects of consumer touch points that have grown in the online space. And one of the things that we have seen is the number of unique Kenyans, and this is very Kenya specific. Unique Kenyans. This is just before isolation. I remember when the government announced that people should start working from home, schools should be closed. It was around March 16th, that Monday. And I know March 13th was the first time we had our first case. But ever since we started the isolation in Kenya specifically, we have seen a massive jump in consumers who are getting connected online. And this is pretty much driven by the fact that businesses still needed to run, people were working from home, and at the same time, schools were closed, and children needed to learn online, and we're seeing a lot of initiatives around that space. But what we are seeing is that close to 2.6 million Kenyans are now getting connected online daily, as far as unique users are concerned. What was quite interesting, looking at this reality, is the fact that engagement on some of the brands, brands like Absa, brands like Cadbury's, brands that are out there that had already had some form of online presence, there was a marked increase in consumers who actually actively go online and engage with those brands online. So if you're an SME, if you're an SME who has some form of online presence, I'm sure you have noticed that jump in consumers engaging with you, either on your social pages, Facebook, Twitter, and so on and so forth. Now, this was quite interesting because part of our DNA as Kenyans, especially when you think about selling online, has been putting up our products on Facebook, putting up our products on Instagram, making people aware of what you're doing on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. And so what we've begun to see is this marked increase, and it's definitely going to continue growing over time. But what has been really interesting is that this engagement is here to stay. Consumers are not going to stop engaging with you because it's something that it's a behavioral change. So I'm going to start, it's like the way you started using WhatsApp for the very first time. It was a very nice way of engaging with your loved ones. And now you're able to continually use that consistently over time. And it's going to be the same thing that we're seeing with consumers who are engaging in the online environment, especially those in need of products and services. So another thing actually came up as a result of this, and I'm building a case around this so that you can actually be able to get into the mindset of understanding if you are to put up your business online, how is it that the consumer is thinking that you can actually be able to engage with them? One of the things we saw that was quite interesting is the rise of online video, watching videos online, YouTube, Facebook, and so on and so forth. And what I have here, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this channel, Citizen and TV. This is data on daily number of people who are measured by these TV stations to be watching TV during this time. And what we've noticed very clearly is that consumers are now beginning to actually get a lot of their entertainment, a lot of their news needs, content needs from YouTube directly. And it was quite interesting because all these videos that are trending, challenges around COVID that have been happening have all been posted on YouTube. And we have seen this growth, and it's a positive way of actually going ahead and engaging our consumers with it. Now, within the online shopping category, we then looked at some of the popular things our consumers are looking at. And the reason why I'm giving you this information is for you to understand, if I am going to put my business online, what is it that I need to be looking at as far as my customer satisfaction delivery is concerned. One of the things we looked at here was what is actually that one thing that consumers are really looking forward to getting from an online experience with a brand or a service provider or product offering. One of the things we saw was online shopping as a topic that they're looking at, as well as offline, because a lot of businesses are still having their doors open, are very popular right now. And then you can see the big player in the market, Jumia, featuring up there as far as doing business online and topics related to it. On the other spectrum, we need to look at what is really rising very rapidly. And we noted delivery, and this is purely from a convenience standpoint. People are looking for service providers to actually do deliveries for them if they're going to actually do some form of shopping. And it speaks to the mindset that the Kenyan consumer is in order to engage with your brand, in order to engage with your service that you have going within your enterprise. And so one of the things we have been doing as a business is looking at what are these needs, understanding them, and then how do we then continually drive that behavioral change from a consumer standpoint, so that as a business, you can tap into that and put yourself out there and understand what the value proposition this channel brings to your bottom line.